Anybody like to kick off any questions?
Yes.
Patrick, you did your play at my charity launch back in 2017. Yeah. Has it got any easier for you?
Oh, yes, I know the lines now. I can't remember what it was like. I remember that night was an extraordinary night. This is Chris Tuck, who runs a survivors charity in Kent and Bromley and that part of London, and she is a truly magnificent activist and campaigner on behalf of survivors, and I salute her. Yes, it has got easier, of course. It's less of a cathartic, therapeutic exercise for myself now, though there are still moments in it that affect me and trigger me. I think I feel more I'm doing a job of work, that I'm hopefully providing something useful and stimulating and even educational, terrible word. But every audience is different. It's a long time since I've had an audience with the full light on. It's quite interesting, that. But anyway.
Anybody else? I mean, following on from Chris's question, I was interested to know, because I know it's been a work in progress, what's the kind of most recent additions that you've made?
The most recent addition is when I pick the pen out of the bin and I say I will not trash another human being, because I passionately believe that we will never solve the problem of child sexual abuse until we work and understand the perpetrators. And somebody wrote down that a 14-year-old boy, terrified because he finds he's attracted to young children, he's not the patriarchy. He really isn't. He's a child who needs as much help as we can give him. And I believe the figures are somewhere between 1 in 60 and 1 in 100. Children reach puberty and discover that their prime attraction is to young children. That is 1 in every 4 classes at school. Are we even talking about it in schools? Are we even talking about it in staff rooms? And unless we can catch these people when they are very young and support them, I'm not saying I know the solution. The danger is by the time they are 18, 19, 20, 25, they have become hardened. And then they become later the truly hardened criminals. And I'm not excusing oh my God, no. But that's been the most recent change. I'm changing a little bit. I still said today, what did I say? I said survivors all over the world. I know I'm not supposed to say men and women anymore. I'm just supposed to say guys or people, because I'm supposed to include trans. I have 3 transgender very close friends, and I know how at risk they are of being abused and having violence done to them. So it's something I care about a lot. Yes. Yes.
Patrick, thank you very much. I was an actor and am now a drama therapist. And I wonder if you could just talk a little bit more about the role that drama has played in your life and in your recovery.
Well, of course, at the beginning, it was an escape. It was an escape into the world of the imagination. And I used to come home from my primary school having been abused by my teacher, and I wouldn't look at my mother and I wouldn't look at my father, and I would go into my bedroom and I would shut the door and I would do plays on my little model theatre. And that is the actual model theatre. And I would play all the characters and I would be in there for hours. And I know I was getting out of my own horror and into a magical story. And that persisted at university, and then when I became a professional theatre director and I started running theatre companies. And I realized probably in my 40s that I was particularly educated in sometimes painful emotional situations. I did once do a play about child abuse written by a brilliant writer called Claire Luckham. But I realized I was interested in that juxtaposition between pain, struggle, wrestling, and the potential for joy. because I've always been lucky that I do find joy rehearsing with Beth on Zoom. I mean, it was just hilarious. It was an exercise in high comedy. And I kind of knew, and I was trying to teach her this quite difficult music, actually, and at the same time we were having enjoyment. And I suppose doing this play is a combination of me reliving the experience, and therefore, is that a word? Experiencing catharsis. And the joy of being here with you. Speaking to people who I know will understand, because that is the main challenge, isn't it? To be heard, to be listened to be understood, to be helped, to have somebody who cares. That doesn't necessarily mean be rescued, because I believe a survivor has to rescue themselves eventually. My next play, hint, hint, my next play is called The Silencers, and it's particularly about the bureaucracy, the bureaucrats who will tell survivors to go away. That was too long ago, or you're a boy, or oh no, or you're not young and beautiful enough, or whatever. And it's politicians, it is sometimes family members. Don't tell your dad, it'll kill him, or you'll break up the whole family, or sometimes it's therapists. Well, I'm not really qualified to deal with that, so shall we talk about something else? I have the highest respect for therapists. My God, I've known a lot of them. But that's what I'm writing about, and it's taken me 10 years since the first performance of Groomed to get near to finishing it, because my God, if Groomed was triggering, this is triggering. Because it does provoke anger. When I discovered that the director of education, when I reported my abuse, had not even telephoned the school, I was within that. Oh, she's turned me down, thinks I'm going to, do you think I'm going to swear or something? I was within that of going down and petrol bombing that school. Not the school, the council offices. I didn't, because you can't. You can in a play. In the drama, you can express those emotions. I'm teaching my granny to suck eggs here. So the drama, I say Oedipus, we do Oedipus Rex, and, we watch Medea murder her children, and it means we don't have to do it ourselves. The drama has that strange way of liberating us from very painful emotions. But so does music, so does visual art, so does sport. I don't know if stamp collecting does, maybe it does, I don't know. I'm watching this man smile here. This is a serious subject, and joy at the same time, it's fantastic. Yes.
Just want to say it was absolutely useful. I think the way you did it in terms of coming at it from so many different angles and kind of helping people to understand from the 9-year-old to the teacher to the family to that whole environment was just so fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing something so personal and being so open and bare. And I just think, how do you do that on the difficult days?
Well, I didn't do it till I was 63. I wrote this when I wrote it over 50 years, of course, since the abuse. I didn't perform it till I was 63. So, I got to my maturity before I was brave enough to do it. The first few performances, I was like this. I really was. I actually got some heavier shoes to kind of stop my legs shaking. Now I know, well, it's a professional job. I have to do it. You're sitting there. I have to do the job, and I have to do it well enough for the message of the play, whatever that is, to come across. And I was particularly concerned not to write a simplistic piece, goodies and baddies, because I think it's much more complicated than that. Much more complicated. And there's lots of stuff I missed out. I missed a chunk out in the teacher's speech tonight. Well, how do you go to work on a bad day? You just go, and you do the job, and you have a little red wine afterwards. Yes? Sorry? For the teacher. The teacher was always there in that scene at the beginning with the book and feeling, that was always there. The big speech from the teacher when he says, don't me give you that bullshit. I normally say balderdash. I don't know why I said bullshit today. Life's not like that. And in fact, he goes on and he justifies himself with ancient Greek because the ancient Greeks used to take the boy and instruct him in valor and blah, 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 blah. The first time I did it was at a theatre in Colchester. And at the end in the Q&A, a man stood up at the back and said he thought it was an absolute disgrace that I was giving that bastard a voice. Castration, not true. It was a speech like that. They should all be murdered. They should be executed. And I said what I've said. Well, I wanted to try and understand. In that speech, every single sentence is a sentence I have heard spoken by a paedophile. I had, just by chance, I was in a men's group once, years ago, 20 years ago, and it was one of those nights where we were doing the truth game, and somebody said, right, we're all going to talk about our sexual fantasies. I was a gay man. I was so repressed like this. And this man said, well, I fancy 8-year-old boys and I don't give a fuck who knows. And I was so appalled. And he was matter of fact about it. And then we went on round and there was a younger man, probably in his early 20s, who told us that he was having drug treatment, chemical treatment. I think it was castration, I'm not sure. That his attraction was to prepubescent girls. He had never acted on it. And as he told us, he was weeping. And talk about courage. And of course, I looked at the Paedophile Information Exchange, which was from the 1970s and 80s, where there was a group of people who believed that just as they believed that gay liberation meant that child sex should be liberated as well. And there were some very senior government members in that organization. And I looked at some of the things that they said. And I've just come from a big conference in Orlando in Florida where I did this show to 1,000 people. My God. And it was a conference of people working with offenders. And they were tough people. My God, were they tough, men and women. Lots of prison guards, lots of probation officers, lots of psychiatrists, lots of researchers, lots of scientists experimenting with different drugs. And they were grabbing the notion of we have to do something about perpetrators. We can't just lock them up. Because if you just lock them up, then you just develop in prison. Or if you just send them to their little flats. Anyway, you have to understand it and work with it and wrestle with it. I'm not sure it's something I am capable of doing. If somebody asks me, I'll try.
Oh, there was somebody just in the middle there.
Yes.
I just wondered, talking about your next performance.
Yes.
I wondered if your teacher made reference to the other teacher who you felt had witnessed something.
Yes.
Whether that goes.
Absolutely. Well, I think he's not in, but he is now. Thank you. I don't know his name. When I asked the Education Authority to tell me the names of the other male teachers in a state primary school, there weren't many. Most of the teachers were women. They refused to on the basis of data protection. When I asked, could they tell me, was the teacher who abused me, was he dead? They would not tell me on the ground that he had to be protected. I'm not inventing these things. It is sick. Oh, that was a bit strong, sorry.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Listen, my email is my name, Patrick Sandford, @hotmail.com. Write to me if you want to. You can watch the film. There is a much earlier version of the film. You just put in Patrick Sandford, Groomed, Soho Theatre. And it's on YouTube, and it's free. There goes my income. It's a much earlier version, but it's similar. I look younger.
Thank you so much, Patrick. And I'm really struck by you talked about talking to an audience who understand your presentation, your theatre performance. However, I think when I watched your film for the first time, you helped me understand things.
That's the other thing drama does. Making this play helped me understand. And it's fascinating. Even now I do it. And lines come in and I think, oh my God, did I write that? That's true. Oh my God, I didn't understand that when I wrote it. The thing about drama, it's like when you read a book for the second time, you understand more layers of it. Fantastic that you're doing drama therapy. Oh my God, I never had any. I'd love some. Shall we go and have a cup of tea?
Thank you, Patrick.